See, you sent me the link is on X. The streaming link. But it's still giving smart applications. But I was emotionally down. Like my emotions last week were. I was feeling working on it. That euphoria is a whole that you're for. So it's like a drag. And that's why I actually like the drag after. Hey, my God, can you just put this city so that's not what I said? I was like, what is it? I'm feeling so low. I should be and you're okay. It's only me.
One day the river will overflow, and there'll be nowhere for us to go, and we will run, wishing we had put out the fire.
Is that what you mean? That's the distance you want?
I need to be closer.
Like,
And there is no fire.
if you don't know how to use that mic yet, that's how today.
You're back to normal now. You're feeling like you're back to yourself. Yeah. It's so natural. Just so high. Is it me? Am I the old person? I'm the only one suffering like I was like last year. No, it wasn't. It wasn't just because I had to come. Well, quite the track to get us into the conversation we are having here on 984 in the morning. Felaris Chico, where are you tuned in from? 0701984984 is exactly how you can speak to us this morning. Well, a mountain was on fire, not a mountain that's here in capital, but we have the people that took the mountain and summited the Lenana Peak, and we are here in conversation with them. And just to set the stage for that, it was a 4-day trek up the mountain, Mount Kenya. But this wasn't just about reaching Point Lenana, it was about raising awareness and resources for species on the brink of extinction. We are here talking about the Mountain Bongo. We've been speaking about the Mountain Bongo for pretty much this entire month, and since we'll be looking at conservancy, wildlife, tourism, this is a very critical conversation to have now. And now, if you think about the Bongo, big antelope, please, if you haven't seen it, do you know Laban thought the Mountain Bongo was a monkey?
Just that, Louis.
He actually thought it was a monkey, but once widespread across the Aberdares, Mau Forest and Mount Elgon, today fewer than 100 bongos remain in the world, making it one of the most critically endangered antelopes in the world. Now, this trek, organized in partnership with the Mount Kenya Wildlife Conservancy, is part of a larger conservation push supported by the Kenya KPC Foundation, that's Kenya Pipeline, which has invested 5 million shillings this year into breeding, rewilding, habitat restoration and community empowerment. And well, today morning we are joined by Rachel Gathoni, who's a manager at KPC Foundation. Good morning, my dear.
Good morning, Felaris. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Well, you look quite happy, you that went up the mountain. I wish you carried me with you.
Oh, thank you. It was quite something.
It was quite something. And you are not alone in terms of the team that took Mount Kenya. We have Sandra, but I'm going to let you introduce yourself. And we have one of our own, Dennis. Sandra, do you want to say good morning?
Good morning.
How are you?
Awesome, thank you.
You look so refreshed.
Always. In fact, the joke that they had in Mount Kenya is, do I actually have an off button? Because I was like talking the whole 4 days.
4 days? All the way going up to the mountain?
All the way and down.
Oh goodness, we need people like you around. You know what? Your friend, because I met you through Chico, is also a chatterbox.
Oh, she talks a lot. Oh my goodness, she does that.
Well, Sandra here, who took on the mountain, and we'll be covering that bit of the conversation about what the experience was like. And last but not least, we have Dennis. Good morning, Dennis.
Good morning.
We've never had you on radio. Hope you have a voice for radio.
Hey, you're making me blush.
Well, this is the fantastic trio that represented us. Well, Sandra and Dena went up on behalf of Capital FM, and also we have the KPC Foundation team that put this together, and that's the conversation that we are getting into squarely this morning. Do let us know, by the way, what your contributions are. If you are someone who's passionate about conservancy and maybe you've taken on the mountain in terms of raising awareness to our cause, this is where we have that conversation. And I want us to start from you, Rachel. KPC Foundation has done work in terms of mangrove restoration and Aberdare fencing before, but this time around now we've seen a partnership that's come up with Mount Kenya Wildlife Conservancy, MKWC, to focus on the critically endangered bongo. Why the bongo and why now?
We have been doing a lot of environmental work at KPC Foundation and also the larger KPC as a business. And we've done a lot of work in terms of reforestation and then working with youth groups, working with community groups in environmental conservation. And we looked and we were like, we have not yet done anything on biodiversity, we've not done a lot of work on animals. And so we were like, let us go out there and meet partners in the industry and understand what are the areas that need intervention. And of course, we came across the Mountain Bongo. Working with various partners, it kept popping, look at the Mountain Bongo is really endangered. And so we were really shocked to learn of the numbers, that there are actually more bongos in zoos across the world, and they all came from here, and here they are dying out. And we were also very happy to see that this is being championed by an indigenous organization. Mount Kenya Wildlife Conservancy is a Kenyan organization led by Kenyans, doing a lot of strong work on conservancy, and they have done it for over 20 years. So for us, it was really a natural fit. We are a state-run corporation. We belong to the public, and we're like, why not support one of our own organizations that's doing such an amazing job for the last 20 years, where they've done so much to conserve this, because as we have worked in environment, the more you work in it, you start understanding the earth is actually alive, it's an ecosystem. When something goes bad somewhere, it goes bad in so many other areas. So by the time we're intervening in the bongo, it's because this same environment that is limiting the bongo is also what farmers are complaining about. Water shortage. Rain cycles are all over the place, and people can no longer plant with rain farming. So it is an intervention that we know is not only about the bongo, it's really for the larger, as ourselves as humanity in Kenya, to conserve our environment, because it's our sustenance.
I love that. The earth is alive, and we have a very big responsibility to every part of that ecosystem. I want us to look at the 4 days that, this trio was up the mountain, and I just want to hear the experience, what that experience was like for you, Sandra.
Well, generally hiking is something I love and I'm passionate about, and this was the first time I actually did it for a cause, and it was good to partner up with KPC and learn about the bongo. Now, fun fact, this is actually my 3rd summit to Mount Kenya.
Wow.
I know. And the previous 2 were not as challenging. So, you come up there thinking, oh my God, this is going to be so easy. The hikes and the mountain are never easy. It takes a lot of mental will, a lot of patience. But what helped a lot is having a team that was so positive, was so it's like everyone was ready for it. And I was so proud of them, because over half of them had never been on a high summit. So day 1 was pretty easy. Learning about the trail, talking to each other, because it was 2 days up and 2 days down. But as I said, hiking is like a metaphor of life. You just go slowly, slowly, slowly. The summit is always going to push you, but once you get to the top, you just come down. Yeah.
And it's, for the cause that was taking us up the mountains, I think it's just what you've described, just the intensity of it all maybe would sum up the efforts that are going towards the conservation of the bongo. Dennis, what was your experience like?
It was my first time summiting Mount Kenya.
Wow.
Yeah, and I can say it was the biggest challenge yet that I've faced. Mount Kenya is not child's play.
And he can die.
You need to be mentally prepared. You need to be all round prepared. Yeah, because that mountain will humble you.
Humbling is, I'll underline that, because I was seeing the pictures and all of that, and you could see just how excited, you could see the life in people's faces, but you could also just tell that this is no small task. Did we get to see the bongo?
Yes. After we were able to go to the Conservancy, and we were able to see the bongo, and so people were able to see the animal life, but it's not in the wild. Those ones are the ones that are in the Conservancy.
And those are the ones that we are looking at breeding and also just rehabilitating them back into the wild.
Yes, absolutely.
And how much, so from this trek, let's just put the numbers to it. How much was raised?
The target is to raise over 100 million shillings.
Correct.
So our work in this is more investing our 5 million so that we can create visibility, awareness, and support Mount Kenya Wildlife Conservancy in fundraising, which has been a great success. And we actually thank Capital because they are having partners individuals knocking their doors. And that was the whole purpose, to really show people there is this unique animal. It's about to be extinct. There is a local organization doing an amazing job. And so they got many more people who would have wanted to join the hike, but of course we're already up in the mountain.
Yeah.
But that's good because it means when we create this kind of awareness, there is sustainability of the organization, because they will get many more partners. And so as we speak now, they have many more partners knocking their doors. Yes.
I love that. It's just the efforts and the energy that came from 23 hikers that took on the mountain, and the goal there being 100 million to raise for this species that's almost becoming extinct. Now I want us to look at, this particular trek demanded resilience, and summiting Point Lenana, like I said, was not a small thing. It was a test of endurance. So maybe let's equate that to the long-term efforts that Mount Kenya Wildlife Conservancy and KPC Foundation are leading to save the extinction of the bongo. What plan do we have now, say, for the next 1 year? Because then this was just but one event. But like we said, this is baby steps. Just as we're taking steps towards the summit, it's baby steps towards the conservation of this species. What does the next 1 year look like? And for anyone that might want to actually join in the efforts?
The next 1 year looks like we would hope by next year there'll be 10 bongos released in the wild, because if we look at the national master plan by the government, by year 2050 they want there to be 750 mountain bongos out there. So right now when you see where the Conservancy is, because they work through their Mawingu, they have a sanctuary, because these animals, most of them, as we say, they are brought from zoos, and so they have to be reintroduced back into the wild.
Yeah.
And so their Mawingu sanctuary is where the animals gradually move from one stage to another as they are made to be wild. So as we speak right now, 20 are out in the wild, 70 are inside various paddocks, meaning you move like from grade 1 to 3 and then you go to the forest, because it has to be a climb. They have to kind of get used to the wild environment, taking care of themselves, feeding themselves, and the whole issue of prey. So they have about 70 now inside the sanctuary and 20 that are already in the wild. So our plan is to ensure that we support Mount Kenya Wildlife Conservancy to ensure that at least from every year, from next year, 10 bongos, and we hit our 100th bongo by next year.
Okay.
So that is the big plan. So that requires a lot of work. It requires, they will do some importation of studs. They come, there's a lot of work done for the healthcare of the animals. There's a lot of monitoring. There is feeding. There is vet work. There is so much that goes around that, because you can imagine bringing an animal from abroad.
Yes.
Like, it's quite much. So, but that is what is required for them to get the kind of genetic pool that is broad enough so that the breeding program can be successful. So we are looking at more partnerships, because even as we did the mountain, one of the things we realized as you scale the mountains, teamwork is everything. Like, you can't do Mount Kenya by yourself. You can't go and climb it by yourself. Likewise, conservancy work cannot be done by one institution.
Yeah.
It has to be done by all of us. So there's the part Mount Kenya is doing, there's what we're doing as KPC Foundation, and there's what now other players who are coming to bring and add value to it. And not forgetting the local community, because part of the program that we're doing with them, it not only focuses on the Bongo, but the local community as the bigger champions of conservation, understanding the value, understanding how when we restore all those forests, one, that seedlings are done by them, but also that impacts the productivity of their land just by the interventions we are doing in youth enterprises. So what we are looking at is 100 bongos by next year, so that we hit that mark, and then having many more partners excuse me, especially local partners and Kenyans who are supporting conservation work for animals that live here, that are Kenyan animals.
Yeah. I like that we're speaking to stakeholders and people that would want to be part of this. But when we come back, I want us to look at the community around that, because we know one of the things that actually has led to the endangerment of these species is human activity such as hunting and habitat loss. So we're looking at occupied lands by people. So people are encroaching into where these species is supposed to be living. So what is the work that is going towards educating the community around where the Mountain Bongo is, and also getting to hear from Dennis and Sandra on what your most memorable moments were from the hike. Stick around, because we are going to be back with KPC Foundation having a conversation around the conservation of the Mountain Bongo. And if you haven't seen just how beautiful that big antelope looks like, how about you head on out, search for it, see it, and then join us back here, because we are going to be back in not so long.
This lies the real heartbeat of Kenya.
The green headlines.
Sindiola Sojituma, you to turn passion into progress.
Okay.
From small beginnings to thriving businesses, siwa mapema ndio tujenge future. Na tukichoose partner kona internet fiti na solutions poa za mawasiliano. The sky's the limit. Power your progress in Safaricom Business. Dial *485# or visit business.safaricom.co.ke today.
Sports is taken seriously.
So, Cricket Kenya acting treasurer Kennedy Obuya insists that he actually didn't play any single role in the alleged misappropriation of over 26 million Kenya shillings at the Federation. Obuya, in fact, says the dates during which the alleged misappropriation occurred, well, that was way before he took over as acting treasurer.
And this is what they're telling me, but as facts are facts, it's 26 million shillings. I've been a treasurer for about 6 months now. The dates for the where my name is being accused of, I was never the treasurer, so I don't know how that comes in.
Now, the former Kenyan wicket-keeper is set to appear before the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, scary, the DCI, on Thursday this week. He, of course, said that on Saturday, on the show, Saturday Music and Sports, which starts from 2 to 5 p.m., so missing out on that is missing out on a whole lot of things. We've been following that cricket drama, and we will keep an eye and finger on it and bring you up to date all through. Just stick around for Saturday Music and Sports, or you can check out our website, www.capitalfm.co.ke/sports. Meanwhile, National Under-20 Women's Football Team striker Fasila Adhiambo has outlined their ambition to qualify for next year's World Cup. Adhiambo believes that they can indeed achieve this historic feat if they continue receiving support from the Football Kenya Federation.
Support ndio pia sisi tuendelee kwa nyinyi mkwe proud.
The Starlets qualified for the next round of the qualifiers, having thrashed Ethiopia 4-0 on Sunday. And we wrap up with World Football Governing Body FIFA, who've slapped South Africa with a 3-point deduction for fielding an ineligible player in the World Cup qualifier against Lesotho this year, around about March. Bafana were found guilty of fielding Teboho Mokoena in the 2-0 win, despite the player having accumulated 2 yellow cards in their previous tie. Following the decision, South Africa have now dropped to second in Group C on 14 points, same as Benin, who now lead on goal difference. That, my friend, is Capital FM Sports Update. For more of these and other stories, by the way, apart from the website which I gave you earlier, you could just simply use your phone. Dial *411 *24#. More sports at 12:30.
Capital Sports Update. Up to the minute sports.
Okay,
where
we
sports
got
is
one
taken
song and then we
seriously.
come back. So, we had actually killed like 3 questions with one response that you gave us, which is really good.
hilarious.
Yeah, in terms of like putting actual numbers in terms of how many of the bongos we're looking to repopulate and if the rebreeding is actually working. So I think, and I'll put it on my notes that we'll do a one year check.
Yes, to know if you're on our
To see if at all we're on the 100.
Actually, there'll be a huge celebration of the 100.
Yeah.
So we are hoping.
We'll be part of that celebration.
Yes, they were just saying it's on course. It's only just like there could be miscarriages and like let's not accept that we're home in 2026. But we should be having 100.
And the cost of this must be like crazy high.
It is a lot of money. It is a lot of money and a lot of passion because I mean to rebreed when you talk of the numbers and how slow and steady you have to do because it's a natural process.
Yeah. It's I can imagine it's just I don't know, it takes a different kind of philanthropy to get into this space because then it's not something that you directly benefit. Great and good. Great.
And we were so proud that it's a lot of conservation has been always international organization.
I like that you brought in that angle because a lot of times you see causes that have been zoomed. So it feels nice to see Kenyan organizations actually putting in this kind of money. So we look at their surrounding communities, like I said, and what are they being educated and what's happening at community level, even because we could be doing so much on the side, but where it matters, nothing is happening because they're still hunting them, they're still encroaching on those spaces, and also just looking at the CSR aspect because then CSR is something that is done, headlines, forgotten, we come back, whatever. Correct. CSR is treated as a token. It's just like, so how weighty is this? And then also the bigger climate conversation. Let me see. And also policy, where policy applies in terms of, because then, I don't know, government must have a way of almost like a long-term thing that government will be able to put in place so that you're not playing at this alone. So we can look at that and then, what that experience. So I don't know, do we start from a left note? This guy cannot go up the mountain. I thought we could send him. Challenge. Could have gone to
It's not easy. That mountain is hard.
Yeah. Take another break at like 45. Oh, so near this.
Well, yeah, you can play that at the top of the really before the song to the top of the
Adventure of a Lifetime is what the crew from KPC Foundation and the 23-member team that took on Mount Kenya had. Adventure of a Lifetime. Some of them, it was the first time going up the mountain. Dana here telling us that. For Sandra, it was the third time. Talk about being an overachiever. I want to go up the mountain and I pray that one day I'm going to take on that mountain. But before that day gets here, how about we hear from the people that decided, you know what, this is something they wanted to put their 4 days into, and get to hear what your most memorable experience was like from the 4 days, apart from summiting, because I saw the pictures, saw the videos, I was like, wow, I think I would come back a very changed person. But Sandra, for you, what was your highlight of these 4 days?
My highlight was everyone getting home safe.
Oh.
Everyone getting home safe, because one thing I always like to emphasize, people think I do this for a living or it takes a lot to be a high summit hiker, but I like to remind everyone it is not a competitive sport. It is not in the Olympics. It will never have a gold medal. So it's always about taking it slow and getting to the summit. It was my first time from Akindas to summit, which is not easy. And when we got there, it snowed.
Oh.
It hailed. It was every element, or when you're a hiker, you're like, well, do I really need to do this? It was my first summit in which I questioned, do I really need to be doing this all the time? Because there was snow at the peak, which became ice, which became slippery. And other than Dennis, ironically, no one had snowshoes. So I know, he accidentally bought snowshoes. So other than Dennis, all of us were just sleepy sliding down, which was very dangerous. But I thank the porters, the team that takes care of us up the mountain are not given as much credit as they are very well trained. They're very well versed on how to handle our movement. And other than having a positive team, it's always good to know people who can, if in case you fall, they had that little axe just to, get you hanging from a cliff. But yeah, the highlight was everyone getting home safe, and always carry snowshoes now. It's part of my gear now. I had to go buy shoes like Dennis.
Well, Dennis here is setting a fine example. Going up mountains. Talk about a first time summiter of Mount Kenya. Dennis, what was your most memorable moment from these 4 days?
I'll say I have two memorable moments, two highlights, because I found out when I got there. So my first highlight was just the first glimpse of Lenana. That for me was mind-blowing. Like, it was the happiest moment of that hike. I was like, hey, this is me getting to Lenana.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm so proud of myself. Then the second highlight was, ironically, like Sandra said, getting to the bottom of that mountain. It was not easy. Like, it was harder than going up. Like, it was one of the hardest things you can do. Like, it was slippery. It was, the weather was not so good. You could not see even the next person next to you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so everyone getting down safe back to the base camp was a good thing.
Well, that's something to celebrate about. I did see the messages going on the group, people just checking in on each other. There was a sense of community, and that's what I love to see, and the community that is created around hikers. I know hikers have a special love for one another. Rachel, you went up. Did you get to the top?
Yes, I summited.
What was your most memorable moment?
Oh my God, I think that was one of the most, I would say, dangerous experiences of my life, because once you get right towards the top, you're practically scaling and holding yourself around a rock, and you can see once you sleep, you will go hundreds of meters, you will just fall.
Yeah.
And you're just holding the rock with your dear fingers, trying to walk around a small ledge that your shoe can hardly fit in. And it was one of the scariest things I have actually ever done. It was the most exhilarating, and I was also surprised because as we were hiking, I didn't realize there is euphoria. The mountain gives you euphoria or a lot of adrenaline. Because, it's very cold in the night. You're not sleeping well. You're in this dormitory. The last time you probably slept in a dormitory in a sleeping bag, probably never. So you're there, and it is very, very cold, and it's this strange environment, and somehow you're not sleeping, but all the 4 days you are so alive, you are so alert, you're not feeling tired. But of course we came to crash when we came back to Nairobi. Our energies just crashed. So, and the teamwork, and that I think it is also the humbling experience of how nature is so organized. It has places for nature is very organized. As you go to the mountain, you see down there, it allows things to grow. As you grow, it becomes more arid, more harsh, you have to take care. And so it was actually quite humbling at how nature is so organized, and you have to respect the rules of nature.
Yeah.
Because you really can't handle the mountain like the way you think you're a gym bunny, and so you're going to go there and you're going to go and race and you're going to go to the top. And the amazing teamwork, because it was so funny. We all met there, but we were like a family. I think the mountain has that thing of you forget your family, you forget your work, you forget your worries, you forget everything you left in Nairobi, and you're just there, all of you with the same anxiety, the same hopes. Like the day of summiting, everyone is like, am I going to make it? Will I really go? You're all thinking the same thoughts, the same thing. So it was so interesting about how the teamwork and how we just became like one, all of us. And it was quite amazing. It was fun. And your team here, they're super fun, and so they really made the whole thing quite memorable.
The experience was well worth it. Would you do it again, given a chance?
Well, there are other routes.
Yeah. That was one of the toughest. I think the Mackinder's route is the toughest route. Toughest. I hear it's the toughest.
Yes.
There are apparently many other routes that are quite gradual ascent and descent. This one, everything you start ascent, it's a vertical. You're going vertically from day one,
Immediately.
and again you're going vertically down, which can be hard on knees.
Was it because of where the bongos were that perhaps that was the best route, or?
Since this is the whole bongo trek has happened severally, and so they felt this is one of the routes that has not been done prior, and so this was just a challenge to bring it.
Yeah.
But we were up to the task, but that is a tough route.
That's dope. So it's a trek that gives you the challenge of using that route. There's a whole challenge of ensuring the bongos repopulate, which is a challenge that clearly we as Kenyans have accepted. Interesting statement there that you forget everyone. Wow, Mother of the Year. Thanks, Sandra.
You're
Congratulations.
4 days of forgetting everyone.
What does it take though? Because you've hiked quite oftenly.
Yes.
What does it take? Because I personally would hike, but asthma and vertigo, I'd probably fall off like the places you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I was intending to do it with, I don't know if you listen to jazz, there's a guy called Jacob Asio. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how Asio and I can actually go up Mount Kenya. What does it take?
As Rachel said, it does not take you going to the gym.
Well, Asio is happy to hear that.
Mental and self-will. Hiking and high summit, it's always about, you have to tell yourself you're not dying, that's one, and you can just take little steps and you'll make it. It is 100% a mental game.
I want to go next time. You know what? Y'all are not leaving me behind. When we go to check out the 100th bongo, I'm going to be there, front of the line, and I'll make it to the top. But I want us to look now at the communities around Mount Kenya. I know. Biggest threat is, of course, hunting and encroachment into these spaces. So I want us to look at what Mount Kenya Wildlife Conservancy and KPC Foundation, because we're putting in a lot of money. And we don't want to pour money into a cause that really is going to end up failing just because we did not take care of the critical parts and elements of this conversation, but also looking at how also we are not doing this at the expense of the community around Mount Kenya. What's happening?
The community is actually at the heart of the whole intervention of the Mountain Bongo conservation, because of course some of the dangers were the snare to happen where animals are snared, and so sometimes it's injured or dies and it is taken. So one of the things that has happened is there's been a lot of education and awareness, and also engaging some of the former snares as part of the champions of the program. So it is a program that integrates the community right from awareness to the other activities that are required, like for habitat restoration. All the tree seedlings it's a business for the youth groups and the women groups who are there. So that is part of the business where they are used to grow the seedlings, and they're also the ones who come and care for the seedlings in the areas that need reforestation. So it's actually an income generating activity for them. But besides that, there are other income generating activities that are being done for the local communities who are around the forest, and a lot of education. Because if you go to the Conservancy, they also have an orphanage. There's a lot of work they're doing to the local schools. Even when you're there, you see a lot of school buses coming, so that there's a lot of education from young children, middle-aged people. There's a lot of just the relationship of ourselves and nature, and that we must take care of it as well as the county government. So they are part of this program, because even as you talk of reforesting them in Mount Kenya National Park, it's a park that belongs to the government. That is still where the Mawingu Conservancy is within. So this is being done with a lot of blessings from the government, so that this program can then be able, and that's why when we're saying that the government's master plan is by 2050 to have 750 bongos, is such engagements where now such organizations are given an enabling environment to support this, as well as the government by itself investing in these programs. So there is that, but what we are looking at, and in every conservancy, like all the success that has happened to the rhino, you will see it's all the partners. We must all work together to make this a success. So there is still a lot of work to be done, not only by the government, but now the local communities, the organizations, their corporates, and all of us understanding the need to be champions of conservation. Yes.
And even as we, engage policymakers, national government, which I'm happy we've roped them in, because this cannot happen without their input and also just their push. I want us to maybe look at young people of this country. Median age is around 23. So they also have a very big part to play in this. How are we looking at roping them in? I know one of the biggest sources of information when it comes to the youth right now is the digital front, where they're engaging, they're creating material, creating content. So if there's a young person out there who's like, listen, they're very, actually the one thing I would give to this generation and to the young people is that they're very big on sustainability and environmental conservation. So we have a number of them who are listeners. How would we then include them in terms of, one, this conversation, the conservation efforts, and how can they play a big part in terms of also spreading the message to other young people?
Okay, that's a great question. And one of the reasons why we also saw that Capital is a good partner for us is because we know you talk to a lot of young people. And we felt that conservation, really, if the majority of the people are young, then the people who should drive conservation are the young people. It is going to be their world that we are building. So working with partners who have a strong network with young people is one of the ways we're working. And then when you also look at the Conservancy and the education programs they're running, right from the Gen Alphas, they're called Alphas, the ones in the tiny tots. So they're working right from that group and bringing that information and making them understand that from a young age, so that it's not something you're learning later. It becomes just part of the things you learn as you go to school, that this is something, the environment is important, you must take care of it. So the Conservancy is actually starting all the awareness creation right from the smaller young people. But we're still looking to work with young people, and that's why you'll see even a lot of our conversations around this program have been on social media, just to try and create awareness, to reach out to young people, for them to understand, for them to be engaged. And I know there are discussions underway with various partners, even including Capital, where we want to see how much more, what more can we do with young people? How can they be the voice of it being institutions where young people are standing up? Because we know Gen Zs, they have the power to take. We are really hoping to tap into that, but baby steps, we are really leveraging all the technology we can use to reach out to young people, engaging them even in the hike. We had Gen Zs who are hiking with us.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So we had Gen Zs hiking, and so it's the whole engagement of them throughout the various processes of the program, not only at activity level, but also strategy level, policy level, to ensure that they are part of the engagement of this conservation effort.
I mean, I love that, given that, it's not a thing that will be done by the people that are carrying the money, the people that are going to be putting in their 100 million. Awareness is a very critical part of, this very big goal that we have. You did say 750 by what year?
2050.
2050.
Yes.
That's very ambitious, given that, we can see these efforts don't come cheap.
Yes.
And where I can applaud the KPC Foundation and Mount Kenya Wildlife Conservancy and all the other stakeholders that are part of this project is, a lot of times we see lead these causes. Are Kenyans literally being at the forefront of these Maybe the message I'd hear from you, even as we're winding down this conversation, is one, the message going out to other stakeholders that you'd be welcoming to be part of this. And then second to that would be, who are the people that are currently in this, apart from KPC Foundation, Capital FM, and Mount Kenya Wildlife Conservancy?
You definitely have KFS, you have KWS, you have the Mount Kenya Fairmont, and there is very many institutions, local, right from when conservation was part of our cultures. That's why even back in the day, farms were given a break. Like you could not farm all the time. You had to give the land a break to just breathe and rest and restore itself. So I think we were conservationists, but we dropped the ball somewhere. And it's good to see that we are back to that, and that Kenyans are actually taking action. And there has been a lot of engagement and passion and interest coming from the locals, which is where sustainability of such programs lie.
Correct. And it's not just another token CSR initiative, because again, that happens a lot, where we see big launches, big conversations, then they kind of, taper off, and then we never get to understand what's happening. So to anyone that is looking to keep track of this, where should they find this information? Where should they go?
They could look at it from the Mount Kenya Wildlife Conservancy. That's where you get all the critical updates, but we'll carry it also on our KPC handles. But for detailed information, scientific information, key monitoring data, key statistics, you'll be able to get it on the website of the Conservancy. So that's where a lot of the action will be. And so when you talk about tokenism, I know, and a lot of people are like, oh yeah, you're doing the bongo. I think most people also don't understand, like maybe at Kenya Pipeline, so that you can see how it ties in to a long-term strategy, is that our whole business is around ensuring environmental sustainability, the pipeline. By having our pipeline, there are so many trucks that are removed from the roads every single day. For instance, with the numbers I have from my engineers, just from Mombasa to Nairobi, just that segment, every day, 754 trucks are not on the road because the pipeline is working. So when you see in terms of our interest in the environment, it's not only a tokenism, a small activity we are doing this, it's really even how we run our businesses to ensure that they are sustainable, the emissions are low, you're having efficient operations. Because you can imagine the entire pipeline from Mombasa to Kisumu, 1,000 trucks every day are not on the road. Over 1,000, because it is over 1,000. Likewise, there are markets of Kisumu Jetty to Uganda. The barge that goes there removes about 450 trucks every week. So when you look at the business and what we are doing, you will see that the larger issue is that we need to really embrace environment, conservation, efficiency, sustainability of business operations, because some of the effects on the environment are coming from the businesses we run.
Correct.
And so for us, it's really not tokenism, it is the way we operate, and these become just add-on programs to the larger processes being done by our business. And I'm happy to say that our business is really paper, most of our systems and processes are paperless. So it's a place where technology is being integrated to ensure operations are efficient, and we'll be looking at also integrating technology into conservation and seeing what more can be done. So we are happy that we are not at that tokenism level. It is something the business is interested in the long term. It is something as a foundation. Environment is one of our larger programs, because even as the business, we do so much for mangroves. We have over 750,000 that we have planted. If you see the fishermen communities who are there, they are reporting a lot of crabs. They are reporting a lot of harvest, because once you have some of, like the mangroves is where the crabs nurseries for their little babies is where they do it.
Yes.
So you find that the interventions we are doing are leading to programs and livelihoods, and it always gives us that impetus when you see fishermen saying we are getting better catch, we are getting more money just because of the environmental program. So it becomes something that we really believe in, because we see the results, we see children going to school, we see people having meals, food, shelter, others buying borders. Like you go to a town, people didn't have, somebody now has a border as part of their, they've made enough money to go to the next level.
Correct.
So we are really pleased at this, and for us it's not a tokenism, and really it's looking at environmental and sustainable business operations, but well at it, the foundation, we work on the social aspects with communities.
I love that kind of broad approach, and very, very strategic, very clear about what the goal is, which is efficiency, sustainability, and also just speaking to actual impact in terms of not just community but environmental, and something that we can always come back and say, yeah, leading the efforts from a place of self-awareness as an organization. So big shout out going out to Kenya Pipeline and the efforts, and the KPC Foundation cannot wait to see a lot of the engagements we'll continue to have and the big conversations we are going to continue having, not just on the Mountain Bongo, but I'm happy that you brought in conservation of the mangroves down at the coast, and a lot of things that really we should be speaking to when it comes to environment. As we wind down, Sandra, you are now a Bongo ambassador, whether you like it or not. You went up the mountain, did the trek, you're now a Bongo ambassador. What is the one message you are giving to your peers and to everybody that you're engaging with right now as far as this is concerned?
Kenya is beautiful. We should own our animals, we should own our parks. When we got a chance to visit the Conservancy, it was the rhinos, but yet we have the bongo right there. Glad to hear there are more of the bongos in North America.
I love. You're also a Bongo ambassador. What is the one thing that you're parting shot to this conversation that we're having here? And I know you're gonna go up the mountain again.
Definitely. So there's so much to learn out here. Being part of this noble cause is an eye-opener. So I'd like to encourage everyone to get involved in noble causes like this, and yeah, definitely get more information and knowledge.
I love that. Give of your time, your skills, but also just take on a mountain if you can. Rachel, thank you so much for visiting us here at Capital FM. We'll continue speaking to you and the foundation just to see how much more we can advance this conversation.